Good morning, Seller Sessions. Isabella Hamilton, CEO of Frank Bell, and I have with me on this beautiful Monday morning, all the way from California to Texas, Miss Amy Wees. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Well, good morning or good evening or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world.
That's right.
We're so used to in this e-commerce world, time zones are all over the place.
I know. I love it. It's like we have family, literally family all over the world. Family. And when I say family, I actually mean it. It's like people in the e-commerce space and people that we have created this community with I am so close to. It's like we understand each other's struggles. We understand what the hell we're talking about. And it's like the best feeling ever. Because sometimes you try to explain to family some things and they're like, yeah, okay, sure. I understand exactly what you're talking about. They're just being nice. But Amy, guess what? This is my last seller session mindset with Belle this is my last one this year. So we gotta end it with a bang because I was looking at the dates. I'm like, okay, it's the 27th. And the next one I'll have Mindset with Belle. It's going to be on the 3rd. So I have the pleasure and the honor to have you on to close out this amazing year that we just had. And I say amazing that it's encompassing everything good and bad.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how fast this year went by. Like it went by so fast. I couldn't believe it was in our, those of you who know me, I'm a total planning nerd. So I was a planner in the military. I'm a planning nerd. If you're one of my clients, you're going to be planning. If you're in my mastermind group, we plan. That's what we do. We plan. And so I'm a total planning nerd. And for planning nerds, for me to say that this year has gone by fast, because every single month I have annual, quarterly, monthly, and weekly planning sessions. And for it just, normally when you plan things, like your whole month goes a little bit slower because you kind of like you're measuring things, you're looking at things, you have those set goals, No, I literally looked at, my daughters gave me their Christmas list like December 12th. And I was like, how is it? What?
Yeah, like,
I haven't even watched
yet. Yeah.
It was just a crazy, crazy year. A good year. There's been some bad things this year, of course, with COVID, but a lot of good things as well. And yeah, it's 2021. What are we going to do? It's about to be 2022. So
I know. I don't know. I can't really pinpoint like where this like lag in time, not lag, like I guess speed of the time happened, because I remember when COVID started, it was like, it was normal until that time, and now it's like it's 2 years. And if you really think about it, then even like I still write 2020 sometimes, and I'm like, wait, it's 2021, and it's like I'm just barely getting used to it, and now it's 2022. But what a great number, 222. I feel like it has like some spiritual meaning. We should look it up. I should have looked it up before this. I guess it's not too late. But
it reminds me of this taxi cab commercial in Hawaii. Their phone number was 4222222. And it was these men that dressed up as ladies on the commercials. And they would just say, give us a call at 4222222. And so I will never forget that for the rest of my life. Because
so what you're saying is next year is going to be a year to remember.
Exactly. I mean, or we're all going to we should go to Hawaii. I mean, that's
not a terrible idea. I mean, when we went to Vail for the e-commerce, ladies of e-commerce, we were talking about our next destination. So I'm just saying, we have not picked it yet.
Fulfill the prophecy of the 222222, even though we're more like Uber people than taxi people, we like a good Uber Excel, right?
I know. Thank God for Uber. I saw a list yesterday of like all the things that did not exist. I don't know how many years ago. Because I just skimmed through things and then I try to remember like the whole thing, and I remember pieces. But it was like, oh, Facebook didn't exist, Ubers didn't exist, Airbnb didn't exist, iPads, this. I'm like, what a great time that was. You know what I mean? It's like we have so much now, and there's such a big disconnect, between the things that we have. We have literally access to really everything. Like you can teach yourself about any subject that you want these days. And I feel like it's almost overwhelming for our human mind, because it's like everything is within our reach, and because it's there, it's almost like, it's fine, it's there, I don't need to get to it right away. Whereas before, you wanted to learn about a subject, then you would have to like maybe go and get a membership card at the library and really take the time and really put in. And I feel like that effort, half of it is what made you really be interested. And I was like, oh, I want to learn about crypto. It's like, it's okay, it's there, I'll get to it when I can. And it's like we
But
live in such amazing times where we have all these resources, but yet it's harder to actually initiate this. What do you feel about that?
I still feel like people do not take advantage of it's like they don't dare to reach for their dreams. I saw this post the other day, and I'm in a bunch of like mom Facebook groups and Christian Facebook groups, stuff like that, just where ladies are talking, right? And the amount of posts that I see of people complaining about not being able to find a job, or being out of money, and in a time when you can literally start a bit. I was watching Shark Tank last night, their Christmas episode, and a lady was selling gnomes on Etsy, and she literally started the business with $1,000. She made a few gnomes herself. They sold, then she made more, and now she's the number one custom gnome seller on Etsy. And I'm sure after Shark Tank, it's much better. But I just feel like there's this gap. Like there's this, like you almost have to give people permission. And even when I work with entrepreneurs and people wanting to launch their own brands, they'll come to me with an amazing idea that really serves an audience. And they go, yeah, but there's this brand doing that. And I'm like, okay, and so you don't get permission to compete with them? You don't think you can serve a customer audience like they can? Where do you think they started? Do you think Nintendo just started as, you know what I mean? Like, do you think Nike just started as Nike? Come on, people. Like, I feel like, I responded to this lady's post the other day, and she just said, I'm having a tough time finding a job, and I would really like something where I can work from home. And, and I just kind of like, I wanted to reach through the screen and shake her and be like, stop watching Netflix. Get out there and learn something and serve somebody, because it's going to wake you up. So I just feel like, Isabella, I feel like there's so much information out there and it's all at your fingertips, but there is a gap. Like, you almost have to like push people through this imaginary wall. It's like, get over there and do something with it. It's like people do not give themselves permission to learn something new, to call themselves an expert or a master of something after they've studied it or tried it or gone down a path, So yeah, I get a little frustrated sometimes. I just want to tell people to try it. I just started an Amazon Live channel yesterday.
Wow, congratulations.
Why not? I'm a registered brand. I can get on there. Why not start a channel? I mean,
That's beautiful. That's
millions
actually
of viewers.
amazing.
I mean, I can't say I'm going to do anything with it, but I wanted to try it out. And I thought, why not? So I joined these Facebook groups with a bunch of other live creators, and, we're in there talking and figuring stuff out.
But
So,
that's the thing,
yeah.
because you already have, just like you said, you're a planner, you structure your time well, you inch forward every single day. So because you were talking about this lady, and I can completely understand how she feels. I'm an empath, so for me, I can feel people from a mile away, and I can, like, and when I say I feel things, like I feel like I'm them for a second, and it's the weirdest feeling ever. It sounds very supernatural, but it's true, guys. Like I can feel how people feel. So it's crazy. But when you said that, I can understand how some people feel stuck. So imagine, maybe, and we're just, we're not really sure who this lady is and what she's doing, but at the same time, it's like I can see how she and other people around, because I'm in mom groups too, and I see this post every single day from different kinds of people. I don't know how to make money, whatever. My husband left me, or whatever the case may be, and they're like, I have all these kids, I need to take care of it. I'm like, I want to give them all my money, but you can only give so much to everybody, right? But you know what, Amy? Just like I said, there's so much information there, and it's so overwhelming for somebody that has never really trusted themselves. One, you'll have to trust yourself to even start something. And then when some of these people, they get the courage, and like you said, your clients, they come to you and they have this amazing idea, and then they start doubting themselves because somebody else is doing it better than them. So you see, there's so many different stages to get to that point where you're like, okay, I'm finally ready to launch my business. And this is why I think mindset is so crucial. And every single time I have a chance to talk to somebody, this is what I come down to. And they're like, well, I just want to know Amazon. I just want to know crypto. I just want to know this. I just want to know that. Yes, that's great. And it's amazing to want to learn. But at the same time, if you cannot fix, and, in quotation fix, because you can't really fix anybody, but if you don't want to take the steps to really take care of your mental health first, and actually make yourself comfortable to the point where you, like you said, allow yourself to get to where you are okay with yourself, to receiving new information. Because if you have absolutely no trust in yourself, and you've never trusted yourself, you're not going to be able to start $1 million business. Guarantee you. With all the tools in the world, they can watch this channel, they can listen to your podcast, they can go to all the conferences, they can do all of it. But if they don't work on their mindset and get to the point where they're, just jump in, like you said, you just want to shake them, right? Like, just start it and you will see, you will be fine. But a lot of people, I mean, have no courage to do that. Zero courage to do that. And then they just, they look back like 5-10 years, and they get to their deathbed. And I'm sure you read it too, like many books and many authors have written about this, how most people, when they get close to that, they just say, I regret not doing this, I regret not doing that. It's not the things that they did that they regret. So anyway, I went on a tangent there, but
No, I love it. We're getting to the end of the year, and when you asked me to come on the show today and talk about mindset, I really want to remind people that every day is a new day. And it's such a gift. You get to start over every day. And that's not to say we don't learn from yesterday. Repeating the same mistakes over and over again is the definition of insanity. But we get to start over every day. And that kind of goes for every year too, And so I wanted today to talk about the importance of resetting your vision every year, because we tend to get stuck in this kind of this cycle of just putting out the same fires and going after the same thing. And when we get stuck there, we forget what we were doing in the first place. And so I'm so excited today just to talk about some steps to resetting your vision and your mindset for 2022 so that you can really, really move forward in whatever it is, whether you're starting a new business, whether you want to grow your existing business, whether you're, just thinking about starting something, whether you want to break through something on a personal level. There's no reason why 2022 cannot be your best year ever.
I agree. I agree. I love that. I feel like we all need that time to sit down and kind of look at our goals and where we're going. And a lot of people, most people don't believe in this. Like, oh my God, I want to make a wish at the end of the year. But if you think about it, it's still a ritual. Okay, it's when everybody around the world, they gather together, whether they're together or in their home separately. But I'm saying the consciousness comes together and they're like, you know what, this is one time of the year where I can actually make a wish, and I'm hoping it will come true. So the more people you gather together around one subject or one idea, it creates this like magnetic field that actually make things happen. So whether you believe this to be true or not, that your wishes come true at the end of the year, it actually, you have a better chance of that happening now than the rest of the year, because it's collectively, the consciousness is collective, everybody's thinking of the same thing. So I think this is a great topic to talk about, resetting your vision. I know you have your own tricks and tips around this, so I would love to hear what they are.
So I think step one to resetting your vision for next year is actually believing you can have the best year ever. Believing, your thinking habits produce what you experience in life. So believing that truly, it really is the start. Some people say that you have to define your why, right? And that is important. You do have to define why it is that you're doing all of this, because that why has to be stronger than any procrastination that might come up. But the biggest thing that people struggle with sometimes is just overcoming those doubts, right? Like letting go of that inner critic, letting go of that imposter syndrome, and actually believing in the possibility that you can actually achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. Your thinking habits produce what you experience in life. So really sitting down and looking at why it is that you're doubting. What is it? Is it something, in the way you were brought up? Is it something, what is it that's keeping you from believing the possibility of you accomplishing that dream or whatever it is that you're trying to move forward towards? So overcoming those doubts is really the first step, because otherwise, no matter how strong the why is, no matter how strong our goal is, and or even how small the step, if you are afraid to take that step, you aren't going to move forward, and you're just going to keep staying in this cycle where you take another course, or you do another thing that maybe this time I'll not be afraid to take that step. So the first step to resetting your vision is actually overcoming your doubts and believing that you can do whatever that is. So that's it. I mean, that's really the first thing that you have to do. You have to really take a deep look inside and go, all right, what is it? Where is that imposter creeping in? Where is it that I'm thinking that I can't, that I don't deserve to do this? Where am I having that block that's keeping me from taking that next small step, right?
Do you have some tips on for people on how to do that? Because I feel like, even on this show, like I talk a lot about, mind your thoughts because they create your own reality. But I feel like maybe we don't help people enough by actually telling them how to overcome this. Because if you sit down and you're like, okay, I believe next year is going to be great, I believe I'm going to do this, but they don't really have the tools on how to battle these these issues as they come up. They know in their head. Or do you have some tips on how you do it to keep you focused?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is really looking at the thinking habits that you have. So, for me, I have this poster on my wall over here, and it's a Bible verse. It's Philippians 4 verse 8, and it can be applied to any part of your life, right? But it says to think on things that are true and pure and noble. And our thoughts, really, how we think about things, we have to focus on improving our thoughts and beliefs so that we can actually change our life. So if you find things that are creeping in, and you're like, oh man, I'm a bad mom, or oh, I'm not good at this, or whatever, you have to identify those thoughts and take them captive for a moment and really think on them. Okay, wait a second. Is that true? Or is that just an imposter syndrome? Is it true? Am I a bad mom? No, that's not true. That's not pure. It's not noble. It's not good. Take that thought captive and really think on it for a minute and think about why it is that you're thinking this way. And you have to get to work on that. You have to focus on improving those thoughts. And if you're finding that you're stuck in that negative, kind of cycle, you have to try and produce good habits. Sometimes reading a self-help book, doing, affirmations, positive affirmations, doing a gratitude journal. Start doing things that are more positive and help you change your thoughts to more positive. And then when you start having those negative thoughts that creep in, work on taking them captive and changing them and really thinking like, is it pure? Is it true? No, it's not. Like, why am I letting myself get focused on this? And then you have to just kind of like let it go and move on and keep focusing on changing your thinking habits. Change those thinking habits that don't serve you. And I know I'm making it sound easy. It's not easy, but it can be done a little bit at a time. So maybe 2022 is your year. If you do find yourself really stuck, like stuck in cement, excuse me, maybe 2022 is your year to really focus on changing your thought habits, your attitude. And maybe your big goal in 2022 is to kind of define who that inner critic is on the inside of you and let that, get a defender to actually go up against that inner critic that tells you can't do something. We actually did that at I was telling you, we had an Inspire business conference, and we had AJ Smith. She came in and she talked to us. She did an exercise with us about identifying our inner critic. So that's that person, that's that personality, kind of like the devil and the angel on your shoulder, that tells you, oh yeah, you're right, you can't do that, you're worthless, you'll never figure that out, oh, you've never been good at that, right? But you can actually create someone else who's going to defend you from that inner critic. And when that inner critic creeps up and tells you, oh yeah, you're worthless, you can't do that, you can actually have a defender who's going to speak up and go, yeah, you give that inner critic a name, and you actually give them kind of a, like I said, like the devil and angel on your shoulder, right? You give them a name, and then you give your defender a name, and you always have a defense. So when that negative, thought creeps up, you can go, no, I don't believe you. Sorry. You've always been that way. So
and that takes practice, by the way. That takes practice, and it's going to feel very weird in the beginning, and sometimes you're not even going to feel like doing it. And I know exactly what you're talking about, because at my lowest moments, and I have those moments, guys, we all do, sometimes more than you want, but it's like, who wins at the end? And those moments where you feel really down and you're like, oh, I'm a bad mom, or I'm this, it's like, it it's so weird, but we're so used to doing that that it's a comfortable place for us. So even though it
Mhm.
hurts and it's painful to go through that pain every single day, I'm not gonna business. I'm not gonna open this business because this, and it's like it hurts, but yet we wallow in it because it's
Yeah.
such a comfortable place. And if you were only to step out of that and actually, like you said, Amy, just start something. Yeah, it may be uncomfortable, but even that, just by starting something, it will give you that glimmer of hope, and of just the start of it will make you doubt yourself less. You're like, ooh, at least I started this. And that's going to kind of snowball into taking more actions towards your dream, and do a little bit more. And the more you do it, it's like when you have a really messy desk, and then you put one thing in where you're like, oh, okay, that looks good. And then you kind of start, you're like, next thing you know, that your desk is clean. But yet when you look at that desk full of everything, and it's like it just feels like overwhelming, like I don't know where to start, like there's books everywhere and there's paper. It's just like I
Mhm.
don't even know what I would do. But if you just start with that one thing, next thing you know, it's all done, and that's going to make you feel happier, like what else I can clean up.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is I think, the second step. So the first step is overcoming your doubts and really identifying some of those negative thoughts and start producing habits to give you some more positive thought processes. But the second step is actually looking back through your past and addressing what actually happened. A lot of times, the things that hold us up is our doubts because we haven't actually dealt with what happened in the past, right? We haven't actually dealt with those issues or something that happened. So, and the other thing is, you have to celebrate on a regular basis. Like every Friday in Amazing at Home, we celebrate our wins. And it's important to celebrate even the small things, like, oh my gosh, I've been really struggling with this week, but I did this thing, right? I set up my Amazon Live channel yesterday. Yes, I haven't done anything with it yet, but that's a celebration. I took the time to learn how to do that and I did it. So I think celebrating the things that those little steps, like you were saying, Isabella, like taking that little step forward, but then also celebrating it. When those doubts start creeping in, you go, oh no, I did that thing and I got there, and you'll remember those little celebrations that you did along the way, instead of just focusing on, oh man, I set out to do that thing and I didn't complete it. So it's important, it's as important to celebrate your wins, to look back over the past year. So when we're getting ready to reset our vision, we got to look at those doubts that we have about ourselves that keep us from really setting big goals and big vision. But then secondly, we have to look back at the past year and look at, what it's difficult to move forward if you keep on looking back, right? So if you can learn from the past in a way that helps you build a better future, that really helps you. So in the military, we call this an after action review, right? After every mission, we look back at what we did and we go, okay, what were we looking to accomplish? Like, what were my big goals for 2021? And what did I do well? Like, oh yeah, I set out to start a new store, I set out to start a new brand, I did that. Okay, cool. I wanted to do this product and I didn't get the patent done. I didn't get this done, or I didn't do that. Okay, well, state what you wanted to happen. That's the first thing. Look back at your goals from the past year. What did you want to happen over the last year, right? Then acknowledge what actually happened, right? So go back through those goals and go, okay, well, that thing I did, and that's worth celebrating, right? At Amazing at Home, we have this whiteboard behind us and we write our goals. And then at the end of the month, we actually take a picture with the whiteboard and we go, look at all the stuff that we actually did. Because, you might think of setting up that website as a small step, but it's actually a big step. It's a foundation step that's going to produce in the future. So you can look at the little things that you did get done. And then we look at the things that we didn't get done, and we look at it and actually say, well, why didn't that happen? Right? We set out to do this, but why didn't it happen? Is it not important to us? Is it, really look at the reason something didn't happen. Is it a barrier you have in place? Whatever it is, address it, deal with it, and then learn from that experience. If you don't learn from it, then, if you don't say, okay, well, we didn't do this. If we would have done this, then that would have fixed that problem. So when that happens again, we're going to implement this, and then you can actually learn a lesson from whatever you did or didn't accomplish. And then you have a stepping stone whenever that thing happens in the future, instead of just being afraid of it, like going, oh no, I've tried that before and I couldn't do it. Right? You actually know, you can look at it and go, oh, I tried that before and it didn't work before, but I identified why it didn't work. And now I can deal with that in the future without having that fear. So that's really the second step of overcoming your doubts, is going back through and actually completing the past, putting a nice bow on it and going, okay, it is what it is. And here's where we're at and here's where we're going.
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head when you said actually take a moment and look at it. And I think that's what most of us don't like looking, because it's like when you start looking at things, you discover certain things that you might not like about yourself or about whatever is happening. So it's like, oh, why didn't I not do what I wanted to do? Why did I not start that Amazon store? And it's like, if you really look down deep in it, you're like, well, I'm not really good. I'm not as smart as so and so. I'm not this. Like, you start looking, you shine the light on these things, and they don't feel good because it's like all these things that you're bottling up are, they're coming to the surface. And that's why we don't like looking at things. It's much easier to just discard it and turn on Netflix. Like you said, it's so much easier. It's like, you know what, I'll deal with this tomorrow. But what happens is like, the more we push it down, the more we say, okay, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. Next thing you know, it's another year has gone by. So what that does to our psyche and our confidence is like, you know what? This is not working out. Like, I'm not made for this. And a lot of people miss opportunities of becoming who they're supposed to become and become their greatest self because of that one small decision of like, you know what, I'm not going to look at it because who knows what else I'm going to find. And it's quite unfortunate. And I'm an expert at this because I do it all the time, you know? So, I'm not somehow excuse for feeling like that. No, I do it all the time. And yet I know that sometimes, just by looking at these things, you might find out that you can handle it. You can really handle it. Okay, I didn't do this. Okay, why did I? Well, I'm lazy. Well, I'm this. Oh, I'm not organized. Okay, what is one little thing that I can do today to incrementally, just very tiny bit of change that I can implement there? And just like I said, one small thing, one small thing, one small thing, and next thing you know, the pile is done. So it's just a matter of sometimes just looking at why is it that I'm not doing the certain thing.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things that people fear is regret. They don't want to address what they didn't do because they're afraid of regret. Because regret can be really, really painful, right? But think of it as a gift that can actually serve you. Regret is instructive because it provides you with information that helps you avoid mistakes in the future. And regret can provide the fuel to motivate change, since it forces you to examine how and why you got off track. So you can treat regret in one of two ways, like a roadblock or like a road sign pointing the way forward. Your biggest frustration could be pointing you toward one of the biggest wins of your life. Looking back can serve you in a wonderful way in that it can fill you with gratitude. So that's the thing, is like, okay, I didn't do that thing and I'm regretful about that. But what does that tell you about your future, right? You can either address it like a roadblock, or it can be that road sign going, you know what, I'm going to overcome this little hurdle that I have. Let's say you really wanted to start your own Shopify store. You've been selling on Amazon and you haven't made the time to learn it, right? And you want to learn Facebook ads and you want to learn all these things. You didn't do it, right? But look at it like, okay, well, why didn't I do that? Actually take the time to examine it, and that's going to build you up, and it's going to go, okay, what did I learn, and what is really important to me? And then when you go to reset your goals for 2022, you're not going to, you'll have kind of dealt with that, and it'll give you some clarity and some vision towards your future. And so that's like the next step on the path. So the first step is overcoming your doubts. The second step is actually looking back and dealing with, what celebrating what happened, but also dealing with what didn't happen and why, and actually taking a moment to observe that and look at it and appreciate it. And then the next thing is actually looking toward your future, right? Visualizing where you'd like to be a year from now. So I had a mentor, Timothy Bush, forced me to do a best year ever exercise. And this is something that I do every year. And it's very deep. And it can really, really, it's kind of like defining your why, where you're like, okay, the defining your why of like really digging deep of like, why do you want that? And why do you want that? And you keep asking why until you really get down to that deep, deep reason why you want to do something. Well, the best year ever exercise is one of those kind of exercises. And the way we do it is if you and I were sitting here a year from now, just like, let's pretend that we're here a year from now. It's 2022. We're at the end of the year. We're on this podcast again, resetting our vision for the next year. And I'm telling you how 2022 was my best year ever. It was the best year of my life. What happened to make it the best year of my life? And that's not something I'm going to be able to tell you right now in this moment. Because in order for 2022 to truly be the best year of my life, I really have to examine, what does that mean for me? Both professionally, personally. I have to take a moment to look at like what would happen. I have to visualize what that would look like. And really think about what would happen to really make this the best year of my life. And it really forces you to think through like, oh, wow, okay, I guess that thing that was on my goal board wasn't really that important to me. Because if this is truly the best year of my life, then these 4 things happened. And none of those are over here on what I was looking at last year, right? So I would encourage...
just a little parenthesis there, like, and this is probably where you were going to say next. I'm just so like, everything you just said like resonated with me so much that I got goosebumps. Like legit, I was like, because I could see myself. I'm a visual person, so when you said that, like, I was already in it. So it's, allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to dream big, because that's another thing people are scared to do. So even listening to this, they're like, oh well, I want to have a new car. I want to, and like, people are having a hard time even wishing for things. Like, we have put ourselves down so much, Amy, that it's hard for us to actually make a dream, make wishes. And it's like, people have a hard time with that. So how are you going to achieve all these things if you don't even know what you want? Like, they're starting to think material things. So I challenge you guys to actually go beyond just the physical things, but like, how do you want to feel? I want to feel excited. I want to feel joyous. I want to feel blessed. I imagine people coming to you and like hugging you and telling you you're like the best human in the world they have ever met. Like, try to go beyond just like the physical stuff. And you know what? this is your wish. Make it as big as you want. If you want castles in, I don't know, Scotland or whatever, then dream for that. It's okay. Like, stop limiting yourself. People are like, oh, I just want like 50,000 and I'll be good. I just want like 100,000 and I'll be good. Like, why are we always limiting ourselves? Like, oh, I only want that. Like, almost like bargaining with God on, if I, if God, if you only give me this bit, I'll be so happy. Like, God doesn't
Mhm.
care. You can ask for as much as you want. This is your wish. Just because you ask for 100,000 and not a million, it doesn't make you somehow an angel, and all the other ones that ask for a million, they're the bad people. But you see how our mind works. And this is because, culture, and maybe family values. Maybe you grew up in a house where, money was like the root of all evil, whatever the case may be. Like, we
Well,
allow you to dream big.
and the thing is, if you don't set goals that make you a little bit uncomfortable, like your goals should make you should make your stomach feel a little like, whoo, they should really make you, feel a little
Give me
uncomfortable.
something. Yeah, if you're just like, I want 50 grand, and it's like, oh cool, I can do that. That's not your limit. That's not it.
Yeah, and I think and that's why I like the best year ever exercise, because if you really are telling someone how this has been the best year of your life, it's probably not going to be related to a specific monetary goal. It's probably going to be more like, I achieved this. I did this, right? It's going to be an uncomfortable goal, right? But happiness comes when you push yourself to meet goals that are significant and risky, because comfort's overrated, right? If you really want to better your life, your goals have to stretch you outside of your comfort zone, because if you don't have goals that stretch you outside of your comfort zone, you're just going to procrastinate. If you don't have goals that are going to get you out of bed in the morning thinking about actually achieving them, because of how great your life will be when you get that best year ever, right? When even one of those things that make it the best year ever happens, right? If you don't have that, you really don't have a reason to leave your current routine. Why should I go work towards that? If I can't visualize, and that actual end thing that happens doesn't make me uncomfortable, or doesn't excite me in any way, and it's not relevant to me, and it doesn't have a deadline, right? I'm just going to keep doing whatever it is I'm doing, and I'm going to keep procrastinating.
Yeah. I love
Actually,
that
not
you mentioned
motivated well.
deadline. I love that you mentioned deadline, because that's actually so super crucial. Because we're like, oh, I just want this, but then we never really put a time to it, so it never feels like we need to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So I think the last, the next step in this process, and we're just going over 5 steps. And this is actually a book these 5 steps are covered. I've added some of my own things to them, but these 5 steps are covered in a book by Michael Hyatt. So if you guys are wanting to look that up, but the next thing that you have to do after you look at those goals, and you really identify what it would mean for you to have these few things in this next year, right? Then you actually have to find your why, right? So this is where the finding your why comes back in. And the reason you might be saying right now, Amy, I've already done the find your why exercise. I've done that. I'm over that. You need to do it again, because your why changes. So, you've just gone through this process, and you've looked at your best year ever, and you're like, yes, this is what I want. I'm visualizing this. I've dealt with the past. I'm working on my gratitude. I've overcome some of my doubts. I'm there. Well, good. You've got goals. Well, why? Why do you want those things? Because if you don't, define and connect deeply with why you want to do something, you won't have the motivation to keep moving towards your goal. So you want to identify your motivations and write them down, right? Like what's the reason? It's like if you're trying to lose weight, right? Like you want to write down, people who write down their goals are more likely to achieve them. So you want to actually write down like what it will feel like when you are there. Like, I am healthy. I am, whatever it is, but you've got to really look at your why and what that result is, and identify that deep why, and actually write down those motivations. Because, things are going to get tougher as you move towards your goals, and you're going to find yourself in what we call the messy middle. And this is where people tend to quit and forget about their goals, right? So you have to be able to leverage your motivation, because that reward at the end of completing your goal, it has to be rewarding enough to keep you moving towards it. And if you haven't written it down and you haven't reflected on how it's going to feel when you've had your best year ever, whatever those things are that have to happen, if you haven't really identified that and connected with that, you're going to quit. The minute things get tough, the minute you get busy with Amazon and you don't want to learn this Shopify thing, right? You're going to quit. What is it? Why do you want to do that? What is that going to look like when you meet that goal, right? What is that going to mean for you? Because then the thought of losing that is going to be high stakes. And that is going to help you through that motivation when things get hard.
And that's another thing, Amy. It comes down again to like looking at the things, like looking at the why. Because if you, actually be very honest about that. Because again, we might feel like, oh my God, if I write this down, then, what are people going to think? What am I going to think about myself? Because let's say you're like, okay, I want to make $1 million this year. And you're like, but why? People are like, oh, they will tell you things that they think people want to hear, and they're lying to themselves as well in the process. So they'll be like, oh, I just want to help people in need. I just want to like help build homes in Africa. No, you don't. You Most people don't, like, no, for real. And but they're afraid to look at that, because they're like, well, if I put it there, then God somehow will see it, and I just have to pretend that I want to build wells in Africa, when really I just want to get a Porsche or a Lambo. Dude, if you want to get a Lambo, it's okay. Why? Like this, literally, Amy, right? Like, put it down. I want to get a Lambo. Okay, if you want to be humanitarian, which is a great act, and I recommend everybody giving to other people, just maybe your why has more than one thing. Like, allow yourself, like, stop lying to yourself why you do different things. And that is why most people don't look at their why, Amy, because they think if they look, they will see how evil they are. God forbid they want a Lambo, now they're evil. No, like people ask me all the time. Like, I say to people, I love money, and they look at me like I'm like the devil. What? You love money? Yes, very much. So like, how can you even say that? Like, me and you, we both have a job. We both work. We're doing this because we like money for whatever reason. You know
And
what I mean? Like,
people are motivated for different reasons, and I think a deep why often goes deeper than money. It's okay for you to say, I want money, but the money that you want, there's a reason behind why you want that Lambo. There's a reason behind. So
thank
it's
you.
like, if you want
Yeah,
the Lambo or you want the money, you do need to
yeah.
look deeper than that, because when you get that, you're never going to be happy. You're always going to want the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
That's why I said, like, put it down. Like, what is it? You want?
Yeah.
Okay, now you said, I admit I want the Lambo. Okay, now we can unpack it and be like, but why? Well, I want to feel accepted. I want to feel
Yes,
good. I want to feel,
exactly. And then
and
once you unpack that, then you're able to really, you can actually visualize and feel how it will feel when because it's not about the money. It's not about the Lambo. It's about you achieving something that's important to you. Whatever that thing is, that's where growth comes from. There is no growth without struggle. There is no growth without moving past those barriers, whether it's money or fitness or whatever. There is no growth without discomfort. And so we have to identify, we don't like to go past the money or the Lambo because it's uncomfortable. Like, oh, what is it? What are you trying to prove? All of us, survival is a basic human need. We're all just trying to survive. But where is your level of survival? What does that mean for you, right? And, it's crazy because, when we're talking about humanitarian, it's crazy because the more that you believe in yourself and your own capabilities to achieve your own goals, because let me tell you, you cannot achieve anything if you're looking at someone else's goals and someone else's successes. You can only measure by your own goals. And the minute you push away all that noise and start focusing on what you want and why you want it, you're going to, and then celebrate those things and look back at the things that you deal with the past, right? And actually start working towards what you want for your life, and you define that. The rest of this noise is going to dissipate, and you're going to find yourself being that person that everybody else looks at and goes, how do you do it? How do you keep doing all these things? How do you keep meeting all these goals? And I have people ask me that all the time. How do you do it, Amy? How do you get all these things done? How are you a mom and an inventor and a business owner and you have a podcast and you do all these things? Well, because those are things that I want to do. And I'm not worried about what Isabella is doing. I'm not worried about what Danny's doing. I'm not worried about what they're doing. I'm worried about what I'm doing, my goals. Right? Because we can't measure by other people's success. So that's the thing, is like, after that, the last step in this process is actually going out and making it happen. And this is where it can get hard, right? Because you can get bogged down in planning. You can go, okay, I have this big, crazy goal. Where do I start? Right? Start with the easiest first step. Right? Just start by making a list of the things that, the first thing that you need to do, the easiest thing, and start marking off the list. Just start moving towards your goals. Celebrate along the way, identify where you get hung up, deal with it, look at it as a road sign, move over it, keep going, right? So
I love that. I just want to make a little because you mentioned something earlier and I didn't want to interrupt you. You said that figure out what you need. Like if you want to learn about a new subject, like just go get it. Sometimes for us entrepreneurs, we want to achieve everything. We want to learn everything, but sometimes we got to remember that it's about who and not how. I don't know if you've read this. It's very, very good. So it talks about, because as I said, as an entrepreneurs, we want to be the ones doing everything. We want to be the ones figuring everything out. But sometimes we got to remember that we don't have to learn everything ourselves. We can hire people to do things for ourselves. So if that's the one thing that keeps you stuck from starting, like, oh my God, I want to learn Facebook ads and I want to be the best, like, maybe it's not for you, and that's okay. Maybe you're good at something else. So hire somebody that can do the Facebook ads for you.
And I think people get afraid to hire because they go, well, I haven't made that money yet. Like, they get stumbled. I help a lot of people hire their first employees, develop processes, get their ops in check, right? And one of the biggest roadblocks that I see, and something I experienced myself in growth of my own businesses, is looking at it and going, okay, well, wait, can I afford that person that has that? But if you're focused on that growth, you have to look at hiring that person as an investment. I just hired a web developer, and I've always done all my own web development work. And I finally hired a web designer and web developer, and I have grown faster. So naturally I was nervous because I was like, I don't even know, like, should I be hiring this out? Like, I'm really good at this. Like, I have grown faster just because I can, oh my gosh, these 4 websites, these 4 initiatives have been, instead of me spending my Saturday building a page, I give it to him and he does it. And it's amazing. He takes my vision and turns it into immediate action, right? Where before I was doing all of that myself. But in the beginning, I was nervous. I was like, maybe I should keep doing it myself. I don't know if I have the budget for that yet. But it always results in growth. So you have to sometimes look at hiring someone as an investment towards something. Like, what will that mean when that is done? Right? You might get nervous about hiring someone because you don't have that money or whatever, but what will that mean when that is done? Versus you working on it for however many hours, getting frustrated, hating your life,
Yeah.
and you don't move closer to that goal. So that's, it's so key. Again, yeah, I haven't read Who Not How, but I'm gonna definitely check that out.
It's very very good by Dan Sullivan. I'm like halfway through. I haven't finished it. I have like a stack this big. That's one of my goals for 2022, not to be as messy. It's like
Yes,
there's
I know.
books everywhere.
And
But
we
I
should
just
set personal and business goals, right?
yes,
Like,
of course.
I think it's so important because it's growth, right? It's growth, and it's you got to grow on all sides. So I would love to wrap it up with what is one of your big goals for 2022? Let's talk about that. Like, do you
Oh
have?
God. I do. I actually, I want to be happier this year. And I know that encompasses a lot, but it's like we keep working towards all these goals, and it's like it doesn't feel like there's an end to it. But again, if you keep looking deeper and digging deeper and deeper and deeper, you find out that really the end goal for all of these things that we want to achieve is to give us that happiness. Whether you want to make more money, you want to start a new business, you want to help your family. Like if you go through all these stages, you really look at the end, we just want to be happy. Like literally that's
Mhm.
the end goal of all the efforts that we put in. So I want to try a new experiment where not that I'm not happy, we all go through ups and downs, but what if I focus more on what is that thing that makes me happy, and then I want to see how that's going to work. And I believe that if you're happy first, everything else will kind of fall into place because you already achieved the biggest thing that you want to achieve. So everything else will just be play. And then you don't come into a new business or a new venture or whatever with the stress of I have to be successful because I need to get the Lambo, because I need to get the girl, because I that girl's going to make me happy. If I'm happy first, then
Yeah.
everything else, it doesn't have that power over you. So
Mhm.
I think that's my main goal, and I want to focus more on what are some things that make me happy. And I talked about this on a previous podcast with somebody. He's like, I want to be happy, I want to have more fun. And I feel like when you include these things as a primary goal, then money and work and relationships, everything else will follow, because now you're in that state of like, nothing can harm me. And when you meet somebody
Mhm.
with that attitude, like, I'm just happy, they'll be like, how? I need to know, like, what are you, like a billionaire or something? Like, what is that makes you so happy? Because we always try to attach all these things. So I think that's my biggest goal.
I like it. Mine is similar, but it's to focus on growing the things that, oh, hey, baby. It's to focus on growing the things that are, that I'm passionate about. So I've started a lot of different projects, right, in the last couple of years since I left my job, and the big thing on that was just I've learned what I really like to do and what I don't like to do so much. And so I really want to focus on growing the things that I'm excited about, because all of the things that you love follow your passions. And so for me, I get fired up about creativity, helping others create things. I get fired up about planning and actually putting a vision into steps, achievable steps. I get fired up about helping other people do that. So for me, I love to travel. I'm going to continue bringing people together and doing the things that grow me and grow others that I'm just jazzed about, and do less of, let the things go that I'm not so like, that I might be hanging on to because I started but I didn't finish, right? There's everything in our lives that we start but we don't finish. Well, I sometimes you just have to let that crap go. And it like weighs you down. It's like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I started it, but I don't like it. So I can, make more money doing something else that I love even more. I can do, you know. So for me, it's a year of letting go, and a year of growing the things that I'm excited about and passionate about.
Oh, what a great way to wrap this episode up. And I really enjoyed this, Amy. I really like this because, again, I think it's so important to just speak about the things that you love. And everybody has an audience and something, but like, I feel like this is like really the root of everything. Like, being able to look at the things that you do, look at the mindset, look at what you tell yourself. Look at what you tell yourself, and would you say that to your best friend? Would you say that to that family member that you really love? The
Mm,
way you speak about yourself. So, um, we could go on forever with this, but I want to tell you I love you, Amy. Thank you for being such a big part of the Amazon community, and beside that, just being a really great friend. I think you're amazing. I am so happy to close out the year for Mindset with Belle with you. Thank you for accepting my invite to come here and share your wisdom with all of us. I love you. Thank you. And I will see you in 2022.
thank you.